What should someone never say in your country? I am German and asked a person that recently came here what he liked about our country. I did not expect the answer to be Hitler. But he was Austrian 0-0. Austria's two greatest tricks were convincing the world that Beethoven was Austrian and Hitler wasn't. Please tell me he was not American. Half Syrian, half Yemenite. It was a refugee. You don't know how relieved I am that they're not American. I live in Japan and the one thing I can say that consistently angers everyone is the Kuril Islands are Russian territory. I am Russian and the one thing I can say that consistently angers everyone is the Kuril Islands are Japanese territory. I am Kuril Islander and the one thing I can say that consistently angers everyone is the Kuril Islands are not Kuril Islands territory. I am British and the one thing I know about the Kuril Islands is that Kurilian cats are gorgeous. And if that angers anyone, you don't deserve to know the floofs. I am American and I know nothing about the Kuril Islands. Guess I ain't the only one. Never heard of those islands. Damn, how'd I get so many upvotes? Sieg Heil. It's illegal, though you really have to mean it for actual prosecution to happen. Holiday by Green Day has entered the chat. Yeah, I was just thinking that. Would they just skip it? Alexander the Great was from N. Macedonia. Be prepared for angry Greek noises if you do. Thessaloniki? Wasn't that a Bulgarian city the Greeks ethnically cleansed? Whoa. Care to expand, partner? Thessaloniki used to be majority Jewish plus Turkish until the population exchange between Turkey and Greece. It used to be plurality Jewish until somewhere between Greek independence and the Holocaust. 96% of the Jews there were expelled. Today there are about 1,000 Jews left there. Leaving the stereotype aside, but if someone says, I hate carnival, samba, football, people will look at you in a strange way. I'm not a cricket fanatic. India or Australia? Could be Pak or Afghan too. Let's just say he was colonized by the British. That could be anywhere. Never say anything about Brexit unless you're close to 100% sure the present company is on your side. I imagine it's the same in the US with Trump. Nah, we just speak our minds and get into political arguments. The Germans don't care you won the World Cup in 1966. But what about the two world wars? Quote, I don't understand why you Brits say 2 world wars and 1 World Cup. Shrugs shoulders. America has never won the World Cup. Henning Wen, German comedian. So you guys are Chinese? No. Taiwan? Sorta. Close. He said Hong Kong. I'm from India. What's it like living in a third world country? My computer has stopped working. I'm sure you'll be able to fix it, won't you? Hey, I can do a really good Indian accent impression. Or anything about religion other than Hindu. Hey, I can do a really good Indian accent impression. Somewhat unrelated, but I did a great Indian accent impression against a scam call telling me about criminal activity on my SSN. The caller sounded Indian. I said my name was Narendra Modi and they didn't catch on until I asked how I could bribe them to help me flee to Mexico. Are you in any way related to James Veitch? Just one duck. The Falklands are Argentine. I went to Argentina a few months ago and noticed that they include the Falklands on all their maps, as if they own it. Islas Malvinas. As an Argentinian, I can confirm, all maps do this. From a personal perspective, it's dumb as frick. We still didn't have proper closure with what happened and it definitely doesn't help that a lot of the people that fought are still alive and that politicians use that as a tool. So what do you think about Brexit? Flag of the United Kingdom. Hola or gracious. The Welsh are basically just English. It's a principality, not a country, etc. Your language is pointless and it's a waste of money to keep it alive. Everyone just speaks English anyway. Your anthem sucks. Hey, now EA is not a country. If it were, the citizens would have to pay for food boxes, healthcare boxes, education boards. So, the US? Cough. Pass the non-maple syrup. It's called Syrup de Poto in Quebec, implying that it was tapped from a telephone pole and not a maple tree. Dagatha did nothing wrong. How you're doing, you cunt? Okay, so you're clearly not Australian. Big ole American here. Do not drop the C word in the States. To be honest, it is a pretty taboo word here in Australia. I know multiple people who are disgusted by the word. However, admittedly, it's just not that big of a deal compared to in the States. No, I don't think the beaver is a majestic animal. It's not our official animal, because it's majestic. It's because we were only settled deeper than the coast, because Europe fricking loved them as hats and their ass gland is really fricking useful. They're rodents who look funny. We killed millions of them, so we owed them official animal status. Just like bald eagles, eh? That you don't like tacos. Norway. Yes, Norway has a weird obsession with tacos and have own shelves on the store with it. This poutine tastes awful. Top of the morning to you. Literally nobody ever says that here, but the Americans love it for AM reason. Oh my god, same with shrimp on the barbie. Literally no one says that. They're not even called shrimp here. They are called prawns. Yet every American tourist that comes over insists upon saying it. I'm Russian. Americans won the World War II. Alternatively, but less offensive to most Russians, we only won World War II because Americans helped us. Soviet soldiers raped men and German women and it was a war crime. War crime could be done by victors, too, and it was ultimately wrong. Stalin was an incompetent leader with criminal background. The intervention against Bolsheviks during the Civil War, 1918 to 1922, by Western militaries was not an attempt to conquer Russia, but to stop the Bolshevik Revolution, and plenty of Russians joined the Brits, Poles, French, Americans, Czechs and others in fighting against the Bolsheviks. Estonia did not join the USSR in the 1940 based on a referendum and wish of the people to live in a peaceful progressive communist country. That was occupation, no different from German occupation of Czechoslovakia. Eastern Europeans don't dislike the USSR because they are Nazis and are ungrateful for us defeating the Nazi Germany and liberating the Auschwitz. They just don't like what we did with the whole Iron Curtain thing after 1945. Russia is 2.5% of global economy. They only listen to us because we have a ton of ICBMs, a powerful imperial and Soviet legacy. If we started at this level, the US would have treated us like Iran or Venezuela, as would our Chinese allies. No, the rest of the world isn't united with us to overthrow Western imperialism, and they wouldn't join our side if we decided to invade NATO countries. They aren't waiting for us to start the struggle, they aren't secretly plotting to liberate themselves from American oppression. No, not even China would support us. We'd be alone in that. Yikes, that last one is scary. That really the worldview of many of your countrymen? Hitler had some good visions, but bad spirit. Yeah, that is totally acceptable in most countries. Oh, you're from Iran. So does that mean you are an Arab? I'll kill your children just after I'm done with your wife. Yeah, I can see how people might not like that. Why are you putting milk in your tea? That's disgusting. Any insult towards Spanish food will put you in jail. We really love the Mediterranean diet. Sweden is the best. I think we should vote for a third party candidate this November. USA. Wales. We don't like being called English or it being implied we're part of England. I'm from Brazil. It wasn't really a dictatorship. Referring to the fricking dictatorship in the period of 1964 to 1985. Yes, it was a dictatorship. And people got tortured and killed. Top of the morning to ye. I live in Ireland. If you're visiting, as an American especially, don't bother telling us about your Irish heritage or how Irish you are and how great it feels to reconnect with your roots is. Nobody cares and every American before you has said it too. You're not Irish, because your great-great-great-granddad lived in Kerry and then moved to America when he was 3. You're plastic Paddy. Fair enough if one of your parents is from Ireland or you lived here at one point, but otherwise you're just kinda making a show of yourself. So, I live across the country from the fam, and went back to visit for Christmas one year. Hadn't seen that side of my family for quite some time. At one point my aunt, who is very into researching the genealogy of our family, Tells a story about how they went to Ireland to see some of the areas that our family came from as far back as they could find. Mind you, this was a couple hundred years ago at least. In Idaho, she eventually got to a point where she said she walked up to somebody's house to ask them something about it, if they had any old deed information, old paperwork, etc. I forget how it happened, but I guess she ended up staying there a day or two. The way she told it, I kinda got the impression she was imposing, but the residents didn't want to be rude. I died a little inside listening to the story, and that just reminded me. Yikes. We saved you in World War II. Only really comes from Americans when in England. It's extremely disrespectful to the hundreds of thousands that lost their lives defending our home. Many families to this day are still affected from the war. Be it family members not alive while their widows and children still are. Men who lost their friends in foreign fields. And bombs that didn't explode being found. Causing a reminder of what the country endured to remain sovereign. So if you say this, you will quickly find that no one wants to talk to you. G'day mate. Anyone under the age of 40 who says this will perish like the rest. Up the rah. I'm from India, and the one thing foreigners always say when visiting the first time is, how do you eat with your hands, or how do you wipe your ass without toilet paper? The N-word if you are white.